to you. Get in your character.
Get in my character.
Yeah.
Get in the zone.
I'm just anxiously waiting for your first question. I'm like, dude, come on. No, I'm just kidding.
And we're rolling.
All right.
My guest today, Anahi Velazquez Torres, multimedia artist, photographer, and curator. Thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you rolling with the punches here. Let me just start by giving us a quote from Carl Sagan, the late great Carl Sagan. For small creatures such as us, the vastness is bearable only through love. I think I admire Carl Sagan most for his persistence of combining both like science, hard sciences, and mysticism. Mm-hmm. So that brings me to my question. Ani, if you were to have the opportunity to bend anyone's ear for an evening or for a day, who, either living or dead, do you think you would most desire to have that conversation with?
Like any person that I could...
Any influence?
Ooh, this is a tough question, and I'm really indecisive. But I'm just going to go on and say maybe like one of my favorite artists, just because I feel like that'd be a cool conversation to have, just to even hear about their process. So I'm going to say Nadia Lee Cohen.
Who is it?
Nadia Lee Cohen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what are they famous for? Or what are they known for?
I feel like a lot of like editorial photography, and I know they shoot with like artists as well. And I think it's really like amazing how she takes a lot of inspiration from like Cindy Sherman, but it's like even more glamorous, and it's really cool. So
she sort of, I know Cindy Sherman's famous for her self-portrait photography and all of her characters she's created. So this artist pushes that sort of boundary as well.
Yeah, she also does that as well. And then what I also like about her is that she also does like music videos and like other types of photography. Like she does her own like self-portraits, but then she also goes and does like editorial work. And I know she did like a music video for like A$AP Rocky.
Oh, cool.
And she's very big on like prosthetics. And I love that.
Interesting. Okay. And she's still living and working today, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Awesome. What was her name again?
Nadia Lee Cohen.
Cool. What sort of tricks and tips have you stolen from her? Is there anything that has worked its way in?
Maybe just like, I feel like going with like your aesthetic and just like the style that you like. I feel like probably that. Like she's very big on like colors and like style in her work, and I think that's something that I kind of like have tried to incorporate in my own work.
Cool. And do you mean for like for the subject or for the setting, the scene, or both?
Probably subject the most.
Okay. So costume.
Yes.
Very.
I also love that.
Oh, that's awesome. Ani, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Cicero. So I was actually born in Texas, but I have no recollection of that because I was just a baby. So I was raised in Cicero my whole life.
Cicero being Chicago. Cicero, no. Chicago, Illinois. The suburb. Is it a suburb? What do you call it? A township? What is it?
I'm going to go with a little town just because I feel like it's so close to the city that it doesn't feel like a suburb.
It's the city. The city's like growing and amorphous, and
yeah,
how it is.
And then also like I feel like you just cross like one bridge or like a couple bridges, and then you're in Chicago or like Little Village right away. So it's almost like I feel like I got like the best of both worlds, I guess. But it feels more like a city for sure.
Awesome. And what do your parents do?
My mom does cleaning at a motel, and my dad, I don't know exactly what his position is called, but he works like at a steel factory.
Okay,
so
cool. Is it Finkel Steel?
No, it's Gordon Bros.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Shout out to Gordon Bros.
Shout out Gordon Bros. All that steel.
Yeah.
Are they first generation immigrants?
Yes.
They are. So where's your mother from?
My mom is, well, actually both my parents are from Durango, Mexico. And they're just from like two different like pueblos. So my mom is from a pueblo called Llano Prieto, and my dad is from another pueblo called El Agua Caliente.
Okay. Yeah. And where are those like geographically in Mexico?
Northern part.
Northern Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay. How old were they when they moved here? Did they move here together?
At first, no. So I think once they got married, eventually they both came over here. First they went to Texas, and they were like, I think around my age, probably like a little bit younger than me when they came here, maybe like 23, 22, around there.
Okay, so they were born, raised, worked, they were adults.
Yeah.
Wow, cool. That's pretty brave of them.
I know.
Man, early 20s, we're just going to up and move to Chicago.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I guess first they tried Texas just because it's closer, but then they came over here because I have a lot more family over here. At least my dad does.
In like the Chicagoland area?
Yeah.
Interesting. Cool. And what did your parents think about when you told them you wanted to study art as a career path?
I feel like I kind of never really told them like that.
Oh,
like,
you never had to like break their heart or something?
No, or maybe I did, but when I first, because I had to convince my dad to go to like a bigger college.
To send you to school? Or to go
not to go to school, but like just to go to like a bigger.
Okay.
Like,
so you were already twisting his arm.
Yeah. So I was like gonna go to like probably like community college, which is fine. It's nearby and it's like a good, route to take. But then I did apply to a bunch of different universities, and I did get scholarships and stuff.
Cool.
So then I got one from SXU, and I'm like, dang, this is kind of a good deal. So I was like, I just explained it to him because obviously, like, I feel like it's scary when no one has gone to college. Yeah. And your kid is the first one to do it. You don't know anything about that, like financially, like how that works. And I didn't either. So I had to like learn like how to break it down to him. And then once like I figured it out, I told him, and he's like, well, in Spanish, he's like, hay que hacerle la lucha. And that's something that stuck with me like throughout my whole life. Like you gotta like make a fight, or like just give it a shot. Cool. Yeah.
So he was well, like any good father, concerned and worried,
Yeah.
But cool. Your whole family must be so proud of you.
I think so.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. That's quite the achievement. It's really cool. When did you first start making art?
Officially, I feel like I probably started making art in like high school. I kind of always had like a camera prior to that, but it wasn't until I was in high school and I took a photography course. And of course, at first it was all very like technical, like how to use a camera and stuff. But then I ended up taking a AP course, and I was thinking about photography more conceptually.
Okay, cool. And so you're probably like 16, 17, whatever high school is.
Yeah.
Nice. And you've stuck with photography for quite a bit, it seems.
Yeah, ever since I want to say maybe like 2015. So it's been a while. And it's been a journey, honestly. Like I feel like when I first started photography, I didn't really know what I wanted to shoot or like what I wanted to create using the camera. But then as I got like in college, I feel like that got more defined. Yeah. Yeah.
Kudos to you. Thank you so much for, before we jumped on the microphones, you gave me a lesson in long exposure photography.
Yeah.
I've taken photography classes and never learned how to do that. So
Really?
Thank you for showing me how. That was great.
Of course. I actually did learn that in high school,
Did
but
you?
it was just like, like, I don't know if you ever had to do that lesson where you write with light.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
I've seen it done, of course. Yeah.
So we had a lesson like that, and that's cool and all, but it's not really like what I like, but
yeah.
But so then I kept doing it as time progressed, and then I just like kind of got like, I guess my own little rule, like stand still for this long, then move slowly, then
Yeah, you made it your own. So it's almost the signature look, would you say?
Yeah, I guess so.
Cool. That's awesome. I'm excited to be proficient in that now. Can you tell us a little bit about your curator work you've been doing over the last couple of years? How has that been challenging you? How has that been exciting to create? Because this is something relatively new for you, right?
Yeah, so I did my first residency.
You had a residency.
Yeah, I
Cool.
did. Yeah, so that's the whole like reason I did like the group exhibit.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, I gotta remember to stay close. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
But yeah, because of the residency, I was able to do the group exhibit, and so I kind of always wanted to do a group exhibit. I have a couple artist friends, and so for the longest, I was like, dang, like I want to curate, I want to hook up my friends and like get them in a show that I like, kind of like, yeah. And so it took a while. I think for a while I was just kind of like trying to find like a community, I guess, to like where I could do that or like just kind of like put my foot in the door. And then I kind of gave up for a while. I was just like, whatever, like, it'll happen when it happens. Like I wasn't too worried about it. I just wanted to like create art. And then eventually I got this residency that I'm telling you about. And that was like the final thing, the group exhibit. And so it was super cool. I got to pick all the artists. Some of the people I've never worked before, some of the people I met from Instagram, and then some of the people were people that I've known for a couple years.
Very cool. Yeah. So you got to bring up all your friends together and some of your mentors.
Yeah.
What was the year like? What sort of work were you making or hoping to be making? Or what was your direction in the beginning?
For just like my personal work?
Yeah, for the residency program.
So for the residency, so they had just this gallery, Agitator.
That's up in Logan Square?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the reason I know of them is because of Gretchen. I don't know if you ever had a class with Gretchen.
I never had a class, but I interacted with her.
Yeah, so she's awesome. I'm so like grateful for her like reaching out to me.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so because of her, I got to do the residency, and it was great. I don't even have my own room, so having my own studio space was insane.
Oh, nice.
Even if it's like a tiny room.
Yeah.
And it was great. I still have it. I'm running it now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You're part of you running the residency program?
No. I wish so. That sounds cool.
Oh, what are you saying? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just saying that I just rent the studio there.
Oh, you still have space there?
Yeah.
Awesome. Very good.
I'm no longer going to be the artist in residence, but I have a space there.
Cool.
So it's really cool to just have my own space. While I was there, that's when I started working on like a lot of the like multimedia stuff where like it begins with a photograph and then I incorporate either painting or like a kind of like 3D element, like texture. And then also doing a lot of like, I don't even know if I would call it printmaking, but basically like where I like get an object and I spray paint over it. And then I create like a silhouette or like, the shape of it.
Stenciling almost?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like stenciling. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it began. And so far, I'm still doing that. Those pieces kind of like take me longer to create just because there's like so many steps to them where I have to like begin with the photograph. So I have to set time to like,
go shoot.
Yeah. And then I print the image, cut it, paste it on like canvas. And so, yeah, there's a lot of steps to the process.
So, yeah, truly multimedia, interdisciplinary artist. Cool. And what was the series? What was the work you were doing, though? Was there a focus? Was there anything? What was happening behind the message there?
Yeah, so it all kind of started with just like, so a lot of my artwork is based off like my own experiences, whether like traumatic or like whatever it is.
Very autobiographical?
Yeah, for me, art is like my way of coping and like talking about stuff that bothers me or like things that I've been through. Because I feel like at least for me, being vulnerable is hard and being open about like, like what I mean, like talking about stuff isn't the easiest.
Sure.
So I feel like through my art, like that's my voice.
I understand.
Yeah,
absolutely.
like, and so like, that's what that series, well, all of it, all of my work is like that. But that series was basically like, kind of like finding your way again after something just happens to you. Okay. So one piece was like basically, because I was also incorporating like writing.
Okay.
So I've been, writing. So it's like kind of like one piece was kind of like basically about like almost like being reborn after, something bad happens to you, like shit hits the fan, you feel horrible, but then you kind of like get up and then, make it work.
Right.
So it's about that. And then also just like coping and like, I guess, getting back to a better state, if that makes sense.
Sure. The due diligence. What have you learned in that process when you have to dig for diligence? What have you learned about yourself or humanity?
Well, at least about myself, I've learned that like, I feel like once I make art about it, like I just like kind of like am ready to turn the page, I guess.
Okay, so it's a way to kind of relieve yourself of the weight of a thought or thought process.
Yeah, for sure.
Very good. Okay. I tell my students that, perhaps you can help me edit this. I tell my students that my definition of art is that the human central nervous system leaves no fossil record of your thoughts, feelings, or emotions, except those are which put into action. So, very much how you're saying, you put your feelings into work.
Yeah.
And they live there. They can continue to live there. They're both,
yeah, for sure.
They're both a relief to you and an artifact of your life in a period of time in history.
Yeah, literally. Couldn't have said it better.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Are there any experiences, like formative experiences, either in your adolescence or your young adulthood, where you really had to like redefine yourself, where you consciously had to change direction or dig in? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Where I had to like change direction.
Not necessarily change direction, but where you had to stand true in your convictions, perhaps?
I feel like I have to do that right now.
You're doing it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like
How so?
I feel like after college, like I don't have it all figured out. Like I don't know what job I'm gonna do. I don't know where I want to go.
Sure.
But I know that it has to be with art.
Right.
So I have to stand to that.
So you're compelled by, you're an artist.
Yeah.
And you're compelled
Like
by that.
I just want a job that I'm gonna like, and I want to do it. You know.
Yeah.
Like
something.
So I'm trying not to give up.
Yeah. You've only just begun.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I tell my students, I feel like a preacher, I shouldn't though. The reward for good work is better work. So keep doing the good work.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. They don't like it. They hate that.
You have to do it though. I feel like when I did subbing, like there was a couple times where I wanted to be like the wise person too. Like, it's
the wise older person.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how I don't know, like I forgot how naive teenagers are.
Yeah.
And how like scared. It's all so fight or flight to them.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And
the crazy part is like you've been there before, so you know what it feels like, but it's like I'm gonna still tell you anyway. Like someone has to tell you.
Right.
Like, yeah. I remember like they were worried because like the next school that they're going to, there's like a lot of fights.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, what if someone pisses me off or gets on my nerves? I'm like, you can't fight everyone that you come across. Like,
nice.
You got to learn how to like live in harmony with people.
Some serious words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, okay.
Yeah, kids need that stuff so much. I taught, I was doing a subbing for a computer class, and they had to do some of like the worst Photoshop lessons I've ever seen in all of my life. And as here at Juarez, actually, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but just a lazy ass project. So none of the kids were doing it right. So I just taught them all how to make resumes. It's like, all right, we're going to make resumes. And, some of them are like, I don't have a job. I'm like, what do you do at home? You do fold laundry? Okay. You do what? You got to clean bathrooms? Okay, so you've been a custodian most of your life. That goes on your resume. Like, just getting them to put that on paper, some life lessons. That's kind of fun to do.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Yeah, for a fun aside. So some of the characters that show up in your photography, I know you mentioned before that they kind of they're dressed up in sort of costume as sort of a caricature of their own making, or of your own making. When you're thinking that way, or when you're leaning into a shoot, where are you pulling from exactly? Where are you like, how do you draw the line where you're like, okay, that is a topic worth addressing. That is a topic worth approaching. Or is it, or not necessarily a topic, but a sensation or feeling?
Well, I do a little bit of both. Sometimes I just do it for fun. And so like I have like maybe like a series of clowns that I did. And honestly, for the most part, that was mainly like costume, like, yeah. And like I did the makeup for that whole shoot. So it was fun. But for that instance, it's like, we're going to create a character and then you kind of have to create like a persona for it.
Okay. Yeah.
And whereas when I shoot for my own like body of work, where it's like continuing like my series, I guess, or like my lifelong work.
Yeah.
Since I'm taking from a lot of like personal experiences where it's like autobiographical. So I kind of like look back and think back on how I felt during that time.
Okay.
And so yeah.
It's sort of like a reflective process. Well, it must be because it happened
Yeah.
in the past, autobiographical, right?
Yeah. And so it's almost like a performance in that point where I have to kind of like get in that headspace and like kind of like show what I want to like emulate in that photo.
Yeah.
Whether it's like frustration, pain, sadness, maybe even happiness, you know?
Sure. When are there any other painters or sculptors or anyone that you borrow tricks from in shooting photography, or in any of the multimedia stuff you've been doing?
Yeah. In shooting, I feel like I can't think off the top of my head, but there's this one artist. I was in this show in Agaitior Gallery, and someone came up to me afterwards. It's this piece where I like basically took pictures of my body over time, and I created a piece about like kind of like feeling disconnected from your body and then finding yourself again in that reconnection, kind of like when you don't feel like your body's your own. And so she recommended me this photographer, and I can't think of her name right now, but it's amazing work. She would also take pictures of her body and like in the desert or like, and she's a bigger woman. So it's like already kind of out of the norm, right? Because no one really like puts that out into the world. But it's really interesting how she's just capturing the shape of her body. And so I can't remember the name.
Contemporary photographer?
I'm not too sure. I want to say yes, but not super like recent work.
Okay. But still making work, right?
I don't think so.
No. Okay. All right. We'll have to research that after. So moving from high school and then are you the first person of your family to graduate from college?
Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have a younger brother, and he's 13 at the moment.
Okay, cool. So you've set the bar high for him.
Maybe a little bit.
Good. What are some of the, what was your undergrad experience like as far as the art department's concerned? Did you feel like, you grew a lot there and were pushed a lot there?
Yes, I was. Honestly, I love that it was such a small department because I feel like it allowed for better relationships with the professors and the faculty. So I grew a lot. I feel like I came into SXU feeling kind of like maybe not sure or not as confident. And I feel like once I got out, I was like, yeah, I'm an artist.
Yeah.
Like I felt, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's part of the reason because they will be hard on you. Like,
Right.
I remember, like, I was a freshman, and Nathan Peck, he was like, you got to be making art 48 hours a week. This is your full-time job. If you're not doing that, then don't call yourself an artist. And I'm like, dang.
Yeah.
Like, as a freshman, that's crazy.
Yeah. You're like, oh, this is a job, you mean?
I'm like, dang. Like,
Yeah.
So I feel like part of that, I know maybe it wasn't, like, he wasn't super for real, but it kind of stuck with me because I'm like, he's kind of right. Like, you do have to make, like, some art.
Yeah. I mean, artists are the hardest working people there are.
Yeah.
No one else is. I've heard some ridiculous statistic. I don't think it's true, but only 10% of people think about creating.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So when you feel compelled, you're going to punch the clock and then still go home and do work and feel compelled to keep doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked some very shitty jobs and still managed to keep doing stuff.
Yeah, you kind of just force yourself because it's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
Do you feel this way? Do you feel like what choice do you have?
What do you mean by that?
Like, no, you feel like you have to make art. You have to be an artist because of just how you interpret the world, how you view the world.
I feel like, yeah, Sometimes I think about like I try to imagine if I didn't do any of this, and I'm like, I don't even know if I would feel like myself at this point.
Right. You feel lost.
Yeah. But I feel like this is good for me, and I'm glad that I found it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, because it helps me emotionally, and just like, honestly, like, it's fun to create things. That's honestly the only thing I miss about college, like having studio courses. That's it.
Forcing
like,
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like you feel the stress, and there's like other people doing cool shit, and you're like, I got to do something cool too. Like,
Right. You got to up your game, push yourself a little bit.
And honestly, it's kind of still like that, where like you see like other artists doing really cool things, and you're like, I want to be creative. Like,
Yeah,
I feel like
I feel like a waste if I'm not. Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing? I didn't do anything this week. I got to do something.
I'm like, yeah.
100%. That's why the podcast has been fun. This is like a super simple way to just hang out with artists and pick their brain about their work. Eventually, I'd like to expand this into like a short documentary. So like a 5 or 10 minute doc with the artist in their studio, like shoot them with their work, the materials and stuff.
Yeah, that sounds great. Kind of like that one. I think it's called Art 123.
I've seen it on YouTube.
Yeah, it's similar, where like they also show artists in their studios and stuff. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I think of I always pronounce it wrong. Agaitior Gallery. Agaitior Gallery.
Yeah.
They're making dope videos, but they're getting everyone. They're getting like Theaster Gates and Patti Smith. And
you're getting the Chicago people.
That's cool. Yeah.
So I'm excited because that's honestly great. Because then you get to see what people are doing here.
Absolutely.
So.
This is again an artifact of time. And what's something you're most grateful for?
Honestly, just all the shows and all the people that I've met so far. I've met a lot of cool, interesting people. And it's kind of like, just because like, I feel like life takes you to unexpected places. Like I never would have imagined that I would have worked at Blick, but I did.
You worked at Blick?
Yeah, and I met so many cool people.
Hell yeah. Which one? The one downtown?
The one in Lincoln Park.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was like my job before I started subbing, like recently. And all the people are really great. They're all really creative, and it's fun to be around like the tools all day.
So is that the job you were talking about?
No.
What is what is this mystery job?
This is mystery job. Yeah. So I work at a morgue.
You work at a morgue?
Yes.
So you hang out with morticians all day?
I hang out with pathologists.
What's a pathologist?
So I think they're forensic pathologists, but they basically do autopsies, and they basically try to figure out how the person passed away, or like what complications. So all in all, I'm just gonna call it like an autopsy photographer.
What the hell?
Yeah. So it's not my full-time job, but I wish it was.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
At the local morgue?
Yeah.
City morgue?
Yeah, the city one. So that's been interesting. That's also like one of the things what I mean, like what I meant by like, it's crazy where life takes you.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a scientific background. I don't have a medical background.
Yeah.
I'm just an artist.
It turns out every industry needs artists.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially morgues.
Yeah.
Are you like a squeamish person at all? Do you like the sight of blood? Does it bother you, of anything like that?
No.
Do you have anyone in your life, friends or family, or anyone who's like a nurse or a doctor?
No, I don't.
Okay. How do you feel about like the horror stories of the ER and like blood and gore and like piss and shit and like gross stuff?
I feel like I've seen it.
You've seen it?
I've seen it. So it's like, I don't know. I don't think it bothers me.
Okay.
I will say, I don't think I really like, because I love horror movies, but I don't think I'm really into like gore horror movies. Like the ones where it's like people are dying crazy ways. Like,
no, yeah, not the horror movies.
But I mean, I've seen like, tragedies, like people, who die in crazy ways, or like,
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen some pretty graphic stuff. And so that's what I was telling you about. I'm like, some people know this and they're like, well, why don't you make art about that experience? And I feel like, I don't know. I feel like
you're more of like, it's more of like a documentarian, or like because you're cataloging too, probably, right? You're more of like a librarian in that role, who using a camera than you are like a creative photographer in that role. Yeah. But
I guess they kind of mean like,
does it bum you out to be around dead bodies?
Sometimes, not always though. I feel like at least, collectively there, like we all kind of just like, it's a job, you know, like.
You've adopted that mentality, or that was intuitive for you?
I feel like it was kind of intuitive. Like don't get me wrong, I do wonder like every person's like story, but since I'm not full time also, I don't get to see like
the horrific ones,
like all the like their actual like what is it, like their story, I guess, like what happened to them, like
whatever.
I just kind of know like their what they think they died of, and then they're like a case number. So
what about like squished heads and like delimbed and the guts torn open?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Like, so horrific accidents, and then you're running the mill like, well, had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Drop dead. Do they cut everyone open who dies?
Not everyone. So I believe it's overdoses, suicides, homicides, and anyone who's under a certain age.
Okay, so anyone that they need to do an investigation on, or they're certain to do an investigation on. That's insane. How long have you been doing it?
Honestly, like about a year.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
And I don't work there full time, so it's just a couple days a week, but
You keep saying that, but how many dead bodies have you seen in the last year?
I don't know. It's a busy city.
Fuck.
It's a busy city. Yeah.
So hundreds?
Yeah.
Hundreds.
Probably more.
Thousands.
Maybe.
1,000?
I mean, you know.
How many have you shot?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
How many do you work like an 8-hour shift or like a 4-hour shift?
It depends how busy it is. So, you know.
Oh my gosh. That's so morbid.
I know, but it literally, like, because I'm just contract. So it depends how many cases we have that day. But honestly, like, I know it sounds morbid, but it's like, honestly, like, I didn't even know, but it's like my dream job right now.
Good. Yeah. I mean, you get to use the tools every single day.
I get to shoot manually every day.
Yeah.
With a flash. Yeah. Like, it's insane. It's awesome.
Yeah. You'll always be sharp with the shooting. So that's amazing. That's good for that. But just, oh my God, the toll of it all. I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was saying, friends of mine who are like doctors or nurses, they always have the worst stories, and I can't even listen to them. So I could never imagine. I've seen one cadaver in my life, and it was just, I was done. Like, I don't need to see dead bodies anymore. Funerals, I'm over it.
Yeah,
you know?
okay, that's fair. I don't think I've had many funerals, but in high school, I took anatomy, so that was like my first time I saw dead bodies.
Did you guys look at cadavers?
Yeah. What is it? I actually because like the thing about seeing cadavers like at a hospital like that, it's like they're dripped in, I think it's formaldehyde.
They're all hard, stiff.
Yeah, that stuff stinks like so bad.
Do you ever have to like crack the smelling salts?
Well, I actually don't smell formaldehyde, so they're actually just like natural scents. But no, I think at this point I'm used to it. It's just like crazy. Like your nose just kind of like gets used to it.
But it does smell funky.
Yeah, of course. It smells horrible.
Why do they do that with bodies, with formaldehyde?
I think it's just to conserve the body. So it conserves, I guess, like it slows down the decomposing process. Yeah.
That's wild. I never would have guessed. I never would have guessed.
I know.
I didn't even know that was a role.
Me either.
That's so cool, though.
One of my aunts told me to apply, and I'm like, and at first I was like, oh, you know, actually at first I was like open to it. I was like, yeah, let's do this. Like, who knows? Like, you know, I gotta give it a shot. And I interviewed. I didn't get the role, but then they called me back to do contract work. So yeah, I think maybe just like the first time I went in for a shift is when I felt kind of like sick.
Nervous.
I just felt sick.
Yeah. I mean, you're probably a little bit nervous doing that, and like, go in there, and we're gonna need some photos of this. I know it's gross.
Yeah.
But please.
Yeah, and then now it's just like, dang, I gotta get a good photo. You know.
Yeah.
It's like their last photo, so that's an interesting thing to think about.
Where do those photos live?
I think they live mainly just for like the police and like for the doctor's own documentation. So
you're probably not allowed to photograph yourself, like anything else in there.
No.
I'm picturing some like creepy Francis Bacon staged, like you have to take mental snapshots. But oh man, crazy, wild. I never would have guessed. Man, the things people do.
I know, yeah.
Wild. What are pathologists like as people?
they're all different. They all have like different personalities, which is cool because I love seeing people's personalities.
Yeah.
And I love kind of just observing because that's like basically what I do the whole time I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm probably like the weirdest person in there because I just sit and watch and wait.
You're just like observing
I'm just-
everyone and
yeah.
anything.
I'm just waiting till someone needs a photo. But they're cool. They're really smart, you know?
very sciencey.
Yeah, very
hard science.
sciencey, smart, thorough, and yeah, they care about figuring out what's going on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I know you said you don't care to make work about the morgue scene, but has that crept in to your life or your consciousness or the way you're creating?
So I feel like I'm not like completely closed off to the idea of making art in terms of like death and like I guess morgue stuff,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's really like come to me yet.
Just
Like
hasn't hit you.
Yeah, no. And it might be just because someone already put it in my head, and sometimes I feel like it needs to just come like randomly. But I have been thinking about like different like death practices and stuff that might be cool to like look into. I've also thought about like long exposure because I love it.
Yeah.
And how that could relate to like death or whatever and the passing of time and stuff like that. But nothing super solid yet.
No. Where do you think where's your work going next? Like, what have you been working on most recently?
Most recently, I'm working on another like gigantic canvas piece where it's like photography and painting and like stenciling. And eventually probably like poetry too, or like writing, because that's kind of what I've been doing as well. I incorporate that into it. But like I said, it just kind of takes me so long to finish those type of pieces. But right now I'm in the stage where it's like, because I'm adding like my hair. I've been collecting my hair every time I cut it, because that's what this piece is about. It's about like cutting your hair and kind of feeling like brand new, or like you're like releasing of like old trauma. And so that's what that piece is about. And like I'm gluing like my hair onto the canvas. And so like I'm also trying to figure out the best way to do that, because it's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah, a way to secure your hair. What are some misconceptions about your work?
I don't know. I'm not really sure what people actually think.
No?
No.
Have you gotten any reviews that are surprising or just outlandish, perhaps?
Not to my knowledge.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I just get like, oh, I like your work.
For
I'm
sure.
like, thank you.
Yeah, I'm always just curious if someone's work is being interpreted in perhaps a
Right.
way they never could have perceived.
Right.
So.
I hope someone could relate, you know?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? I feel like I was going to say something and I forgot.
Do you feel like there's a bit of storytelling as well? There's an element of storytelling, because from what I've seen about your work, I guess that was a perfect setup. Well, I'm getting good at this. Way
There
to
you go.
compliment myself. What I've viewed of your work, like peripherally, is like it's very conscientious, meaning like it's thoughtful, it's like intelligent, and there's like an awareness, because there's always, in the same way that you sort of glamorize characters, you say, but also just like give persona to things, or like anthropomorphize feelings. It always just, there's like this, the way that I know you're intending it, and then this other secret way that's like a very, very like just under the surface sort of relatable aspect to most of it, what I've seen. Do you feel like that's true?
I would say, yeah. I feel like all of my work is, for the most part, conscious. Like, I do things very intentionally. And I guess sometimes I try to, like, maybe, like, hide things, I guess. You know, like, slip things into there. And then if people catch it, that's cool. If not, then it's for me.
Little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, yeah, like you said, it's very conscious. And I don't know I forgot what else you said. I'm sorry, but
It's
yeah.
okay. Yeah. Just meaning like lots of artists, and not to bash this way of creating, it's very like some people, often the way that we would study too was just like make some rules and make some art and then show it. Where I'm certain you can do that and do it well. Like the work I've seen of yours has always been very, very intentional, very like very thorough and, you know, well thought out. Not necessarily like a process. It is very process orientated. I know you have that, but that's not what's the focal point most often. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, for the most part, I just kind of like, I guess sometimes I'll just have like an idea and then I try to write it down because I'm very forgetful.
Yeah.
I forget quick.
Yeah,
So
those epiphanies, those 1,000 epiphanies you get a day.
Yeah, so I need to be quick. I need to write it down so I could get to it. But yeah, and then sometimes like I'll try to think it ahead of time because that's how I work best. I need to like plan it out.
Prepare well.
Yeah.
Prepare well.
Because if not, like if I'm missing something, I'm like, oh, this is ruined.
You're just at a dead stop and you gotta
I'm like
work around it somehow.
Yeah. But sometimes like you kind of just have to force yourself to like make it work. I remember one time this is the worst thing ever. I forgot my SD card. Yeah. And I didn't have any other.
Been there.
And so like basically like my DSLR was useless. Like what the heck am I gonna do with
the paperweight now.
Yeah. So I had already set everything up. I had painted my face in clown makeup. So I'm like, this is insane. I'm not gonna leave here without any photos.
Yeah.
So I just grabbed my phone and I
shot with that.
Yeah, I had to. And like honestly, it's I love how it came out because I'm kind of like recently I've also been into like super like grainy, kind of like blurry-ish photos, kind of like what we did earlier.
Yeah. And
so I really enjoy stuff like that.
Yeah. It's a great way to reimagine the technology as well. How about that Ice Cream Man?
I know.
He's awesome. He'll go to like 11 o'clock.
Are you serious?
Yeah. School nights.
If I were, school nights.
Oh yeah, he doesn't quit.
Respect.
Yeah. That grind.
In the summer, that's a great thing though. Have you bought anything?
No, he drives really fast.
You gotta run, be like, hey.
Yeah, flag him down. Oh man, lost my train of thought for a second there. But, do you have any more? Do you have any work coming up? Any shows coming? You just had a show over the weekend.
Yeah, I did.
Had a show over the weekend.
Yeah, and it was exciting because that was their first event. They just created the gallery, or the collective, and it's called Ruidosa.
Oh, cool.
And it was great. It's basically, I think for the most part, their like mission is to like showcase more Latinx work. So that's awesome, you know. And so it was a one-night event, and they had, I don't remember exactly how many artists they had, but they had a few, and then they had live music. So it was super cool.
Yeah, I've seen the posters in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah.
I saw your name.
Sweet.
There's one across the street. I was like, oh, damn.
Sweet. I'm going to go take a picture after.
Yeah. So that was super cool. And that was Hayes Gallery, right?
Yeah. So I think, I'm actually not entirely sure, but they're going to have events at different ones.
Okay, so the collective is sort of a moving thing.
Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. There's a gallery just across the street here I discovered when I first moved in. They do these really cool art of science talks.
Art of science.
They get professors from like the University of Chicago and Oregon National Labs to come and give lectures. Oh. Super cool.
That sounds awesome. I feel like I've seen like random graffiti, like, and it's like it's on Cermak, heading east.
So right over here.
Yeah, right around here. I think right before Kedzie. So I'm pretty sure I've seen www.art.
Really?
Or something like that. I know it was scientific and science and art related.
That's funny.
But yeah.
Cool. Someone's throwing it up.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Ani, what should young people know?
To be themselves, honestly. I feel like that's like the most important thing. I feel like all throughout life, like there's going to be people who tell you like, calm down, or like, yo, like you're too much. And I feel like at least that's one of the biggest things for me as a kid. I wish I was more just like unapologetically myself. I know it sounds corny, but it's like so true. Because even as an artist, like then you could start making more like real art that's like you. you know.
How does a young person learn to be unapologetically themselves? What sort of steps does one take?
Step number 1, you can't care.
Can't care.
About, I mean, like, you shouldn't care about, like, what people who aren't important to your life say. Like,
Okay.
I feel like the right person's gonna embrace you and tell you, man, you're awesome, just the way you are. And sometimes people who aren't really, like, in your life, they're gonna try to shut you down. And they're gonna be like, look at you funny. And sometimes that's enough. And you shouldn't let it.
All right. Don't let, so be brave.
Yeah. And then I know kids nowadays are, like, very, like, what's the word? Like, what's the word? Persuaded. They're persuaded really easily. Like
they're naive more now than ever.
Yeah, like they'll like just pick up on, like, what their friends are doing. It's like you should have your own voice.
Yeah. Do you think older generations weren't as much, like, weren't as compelled by their peers? They were more individualistic.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I feel like everything now, and not that it's a bad thing, but it's different, and you just have to, like, learn to just push through that. But I feel like there's even more, like, subgenres of, like, people. Like, does that make sense? Like, things you like.
Things are getting more niche because of the internet.
Yeah. So it's like they'll be like what's the most random thing? Like cluttercore.
What the hell's cluttercore?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that music?
Like, no. So cluttercore, I think. It's like the aesthetic of having clutter in your home. But that's, like, what I'm saying, though. Like, there's even more specific, like...
How does one depict that you live in a cluttered environment in your wardrobe?
You gotta have a lot of, like, knickknacks,
on your
books. I don't know.
Oh, clutter. Oh, like, it's like
Clutter,
an aesthetic of...
Like, aesthetic, like, having...
Like an interior design
Yeah.
aesthetic. I got a lot of shit.
Yeah.
That's
But
great.
I feel like just with, like, social media in general too, like, now you have, like, all these, like you're introduced to all these things, and I feel like it could be overwhelming.
Right.
Like, you have to, like, maybe you feel like you have to pick, like, oh, what's gonna make me look cool? Well, I'm just gonna do what they're doing because that's, like, what the majority is doing. But I feel like sometimes you kind of have to step out of that. And I feel like the only reason I say that is because I see it in my brother, where it's like, bro, I know you're cool.
Figure it out. Yeah. I know you're cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's like that. I guess that. Yeah.
Awesome. Very good. So be brave, and if you're gonna be in the cluttercore, then fucking own it. Be the best cluttercore you can be.
If you want to be a fairy, be a fairy. If you want to be a vampire, do it.
Be a vampire.
Yeah.
Be a fucking vampire.
Yeah.
Where can people find your work and you, the art?
Yeah. So at dear.anahi, that's my art Instagram, and then if you must, my personal Instagram account is below the clavicle with 2 E's at the end.
Cool. Awesome. Anahi, thank you so much for coming and being a guest on Inside the Artist Studio.
Thank you so much.
Heck yeah.
That was great.